It's just devastating. When you can't keep them safe, there's nothing you can do. It's done. Your chance to keep them protected and loved and safe is over. You failed.
That was grieving mother Giovanna Livingston talking about the loss of her beloved daughter, Ketie Jones. This is a case that really needs some help. It's coming up on 3 years of it being unsolved, and I believe someone out there has the information that can help authorities move this forward. Let's start by taking a look. This is Ketie. Apparently a very caring person. I've run into so many comments talking about just things that she would do for other people, things that she would do for animals. She was also into art. Someone that was just a really good part of her community, and then we have a tragedy take them away from us. Here at Dignity Memorial, we have another picture of Ketie and her full name, Catherine Memory Jones, born December 19th, 1989, and she dies October 15th, 2016. They don't have the full obituary here. They do reference a site called KatieMemoryJones.com. That site isn't available anymore, but through archive.org, I was able to bring parts of this site back. So I've got some stuff I want to review with you guys with this site, but we're going to save it for the end of the video. It's really just to give you more of a sense of Ketie and the impact that she had on the people around her. I did also find a Facebook page for her. And you can get a bit of a sense by looking through this, first of all, of her love for animals. There are so many pictures of her here with her dogs and her cats. As a matter of fact, one of the last things that she did here was update her cover photo. And she says in the comment below this that it's a picture of my dogs. Well, her dogs were named Bean Sprout and Snow Peas. And as you can see, that's a bowl of bean sprouts and snow peas. Someone that you could see has a bit of a quirky sense of self. In many of the pictures, she has multicolored hair, just kind of an artist through and through, and a very caring one at that based on the information I'm seeing from her friends. But what happened around all this? Once again, thank you to Web Archive for resurrecting an article from Fox 46 Charlotte. October 15th, 2016, a woman was found shot to death in a driveway behind a real estate business in East Charlotte Saturday morning, according to the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department. She's been identified as 26-year-old Catherine Memory Jones. Police responded to a shots fired call around 2:45 a.m. The medic pronounced her dead on the scene. Already when you're talking about a situation like that, this is a tough case happening in the middle of the night. So we don't have as much foot traffic. We don't have as much car traffic. Is there some cameras that might have picked up what's going on? We're certainly going to cover that as we go forward. But looking at this case almost 3 years after the fact, this is one of those cases that has me wondering if law enforcement is releasing enough information. There's some information that they've put out, but there's a lot of big details we don't know. We don't know what type of weapon was used. We don't know the caliber of the bullet. It seems like there was an autopsy report where at least some of the details were given to the press, but the full report doesn't seem to be released. So it's one of those cases that when you're looking into it, it's kind of hard. I mean, the basics of the story are girl walking home in the middle of the night, girl gets shot and killed. But is there more detail that we can find going through this? Certainly. There's been a few very good articles written about this. But let's continue over at CBS17.com. Catherine Jones was shot to death over the weekend, not far from Midwood Smokehouse, where coworkers remember her as warm and friendly. Ketie Jones's mom did not want to do an interview Monday afternoon, but she did tell WBTV that Katie's friends are helping her get through this. Giovanna Livingston said online, "She shined brighter than any star. She was our world that we circled. We are blessed to be in her life." Now, from what I understand, Ketie lost her father at a very young age. Her mother did have 2 other children with another man, so she also has 2 half-siblings that are mourning her death as well. Moving on to charlottemagazine.com. This is a really strong article. If there's only one other article that you read after you watch this video, I highly recommend this one. And I want to call out Cheryl Spainhour for doing such a great job on this. This is kind of a long form, comprehensive version of this story. It gives you a bunch of additional details about the area and other things. But for the format of this video, I'm really trying to get to the facts, so we're going to try to stick to those as we go through here. On a clear night last October, she danced and sang as she walked home through the streets of the neighborhood she loved. What happened next devastated her family and friends and left an entire community searching for answers. Ketie Jones finished a 6-hour shift at her hostess job and caught up with friends at the nearby Midwood Country Club. It was close to 11 p.m. So Midwood Country Club is not where she worked. She worked at Midwood Smokehouse. And I know we're using the same name all over this place. It's just the name of the area, so it's used pretty frequently. The Smokehouse and the Country Club are not exactly next to each other, a little bit of a drive or a walk. She didn't have a car, so she probably would have walked or ridden a bike. But we can see that the Smokehouse is actually right over here. And it's about a mile, about a mile down the road where we actually find the Midwood Country Club where she was hanging out. And this path that's highlighted on this map is basically her walk. We'll get more into the details there. Ketie and her friends gathered at one of the round iron tables out back on that mild Friday night, October 14th. Ketie was in good spirits and, quote, babysat a gin and tonic with 2 limes, says her friend Rachel Cullen. Ketie and a few friends lingered until closing time. When they headed to the gravel parking lot, Cullen offered her a ride home. Twice. Ketie said no. It was one of the last nice nights of the year, she said. She wanted to walk. Andrea Reed, another friend, said that she loved to walk around the neighborhood. Any of us wouldn't have thought twice about walking before all this happened. Ketie believed that she was fairly street smart, also according to her friends. In her purse, she carried a pink case of pepper spray. She used it one evening just a few weeks before on some guy on Central Avenue who was harassing her, and she kept her cell phone in easy reach in the back pocket of her blue jeans. Now, it's strange because I know when I present these things to you guys, we're looking at this almost like a story narrative. And when I hear about an instance like this, you know, she had used her pepper spray only a few weeks before. First thing for me is there something to this? Is it possible that this guy came back, wanted to get some revenge on her, something along those lines? I can tell you this is literally the only note about this guy that pops up in all these articles. I would like to think that investigators have looked into that, and I would like to think that they either ruled it out or they're keeping him in suspicion and processing the case that way. It's just strange because Ketie at this time doesn't have a boyfriend. I'm not getting a good sense of things in her personal life that could be risk factors for someone that wants to harm her. But if we do look into the stats of women being attacked and or killed in this way, the vast majority of the time it's someone that actually knows them. But we are also talking about a case that's going on, 2:46 a.m. Is it possibly a crime of opportunity? And I think investigators are still struggling with that as well. Let's continue with the details here. She also kept her cell phone in easy reach in the back pocket of her blue jeans. She left the bar around 2:30 a.m. It was about a mile-long walk back to her home from there. She walked on the sidewalk, and at one point, one of her friends who had been with her at the bar drove up alongside her, rolled down his window, and offered to drive her home. She turned him down as well and continued walking on. So several instances where she's just making it very clear that she wants to walk. It's October. It's going to be getting colder soon. She's probably not going to be able to enjoy the outdoors in the same way. She's dancing, she's singing, she's taking pictures, she's sending those to her friends at Facebook Messenger. By all signs, she's just having a good time, kind of being a free spirit and wanting to walk home. The security camera at the Midwood Corner shopping strip caught her dancing and singing as she walked to the corner of the plaza. On the corner, she took pictures with her cell phone of a street sign, the used bookstore's van, and a car passing by. And she was imitating her friend Andrew's swiping photo technique that makes pictures look blurry. Then at 2:33 a.m. in a group chat on Facebook Messenger, Ketie sent the photos and typed out her last whimsical message to her friends: "Enjoy these Andrew-esque pictures on my lonely walk home." She cut across the plaza, walked alone along the sidewalk in front of Berry Hill Realty Company. Suddenly, a car's headlights came on. A gunshot shattered the silence, then another. One of the bullets pierced both her lungs and cut through her heart. Ketie crumpled to the asphalt. So the path that we're talking about here, here's the Midwood Country Club. She walks down Central Avenue. She makes a right on what is known as the Plaza. You can see that here. She continues on that just for a block, and then she's basically swinging a left onto Hamilton Place. And we can see Berry Hill Realty is here. And right in this driveway for the parking lot of Berry Hill Realty is where she was shot. Ketie's murder in the early hours of October 15th is the first homicide in Plaza Midwood since 2013. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be the last, and it seems like there was kind of a rash of shootings that would happen right after this. I don't believe they're connected, so we're not going to go into those details too much, but it seems like the community really had to coordinate with police, and people had to kind of step up, and police started running more patrols in the area because just for this little period of time, it seems like violence was really starting to become a problem in that area. I believe from the information I'm seeing that they've since got that under control. And even at the time, neighbors were commenting about how strange it was, that they just couldn't believe that this type of stuff was happening there. But back to that night. So several gunshots happen. One of them hits her critically. The gunshots set off the real estate company's garage alarm. At 2:47, a neighbor across the street called 911 and looked out a window in time to see a car drive off into the night. Another neighbor heard the rapid gunfire and mistook it for fireworks. He walked out onto his porch, then headed down the street toward where the alarm was sounding. He saw someone laying face down in the parking lot. He dials 911. Now, I don't know why, but in other versions of the story, I hear that he was actually out walking his dog and he heard these sounds and then he went towards it. Or maybe there's another witness that was walking their dog. But this aspect seems to get mushed up from version to version. I told 911 she doesn't appear to be breathing. I told them there's a fire station 2 blocks from here. The 911 operator asked him to turn the young woman over to check for a pulse. He does. Unfortunately, she was gone. He stayed close beside Ketie until the street lit up with blue and red flashing lights. Once again, just want to call out, this is an excellent in-depth article. Please check it out if you're interested in this case or if you live in this area and you want to learn more details here. So that's the basics of the map. Not a whole lot we can tell here, except that she's heading towards what looks like a largely residential area. Even Berry Hill Realty Company, it looks like it could have been a private home at some point that was converted for the purpose of becoming a business. You have businesses all along Central, couple of businesses trickling as you get about a block up from it, but there's like a limiting factor once you get to 2 blocks, especially right there, where it just turns into all homes. Now, why this is important is because Central, you've got all these businesses. That means you've got tons of cameras all over Central. Even on the plaza here, still a lot of businesses facing that road, likely some cameras as well. Once she makes this turn, the likelihood of camera outside of cameras that are in people's personal homes just drops dramatically. And I do believe that that's a factor in this investigation. I do think that's something that's really tough about this. We'll learn more about cameras as we continue with the details here. But let's get to fox46charlotte.com and take a look at some information that came out through the autopsy results. This is an article posted November 10th, 2016. It's clear she died from a gunshot wound to the chest. The previous narrative talked about that it pierced both lungs and her heart. I believe I've heard her mother say that also. However, in this version, it specifically says that Jones sustained injuries to her right lung and heart. She also had acute blunt trauma injuries on her left cheek, left elbow, left hip, and left lower back. So I don't know if the lung discrepancy is really worth spending too much time on, but in this report, we're hearing about other details: acute blunt trauma. Blunt trauma is physical trauma to a body part, either by impact, injury, or physical attack. And that's according to Wikipedia.com. So that makes me wonder what's going on here. Was someone, in short, I know that there's a vehicle involved here, and we'll get to the details of why. The question I have at this point is, did the shooting happen with the person in the vehicle, and then she fell, and while she fell, that's where all this trauma occurred? It's all to the same side. Seems like it's a possibility. The other possibility is someone got out of the vehicle, tried to accost her for some reason. We do know that the majority of people are right-handed. If you're facing someone and you're attacking them with your right hand, you're going to likely strike them on their left side. So that's another possibility here. We also get a little more detail here. Jones's clothing, earrings, and wristbands have been preserved as evidence in this case. If this is a situation where someone did come out and actually engage her, I'm wondering if there might have been transfer of some kind, DNA, touch DNA, something along those lines. But that's really one of the only hints of physical evidence that we get in this case. Continuing on to dailymail.co.uk. And let me just say before I get into this, I've started to lean a lot less on Daily Mail. I keep finding not major discrepancies, but I keep finding variances in the information that they put out, or in a lot of situations, they're putting out the exact same information as other articles, and I'm able to just source it from other places. But I do want to go over what they have put together here, because it's kind of a compilation of the whole story once again, and they raise some pretty interesting questions, starting right off with the title: no witnesses, no footage, no fingerprint, no clues, and no motive. And that's really one of the biggest things here. Her cell phone still on her, her purse on the ground next to her, nothing taken from it, money's still in it, all of her known items are with her. So we don't have a robbery motive. No mention of sexual assault, and as we're going to learn later, there's no time for a sexual assault to happen here. So what we're looking at is a very quick action. Is it that it was a robbery, and when the alarm went off in the building, that scared them off? That's one thing investigators are talking about. Or is it something else? Is this a targeted attack? And once they struck, they knew the job was done and they fled. That is probably the biggest question in this whole case, because the motive is definitely not clear here. Ketie Jones had no known enemies, no involvement in drugs, and as you could see, even her friends were saying she was basically nursing her drink. I mean, it's not like she was exactly partying it up with them. She was out with her friends, just having a good time being social. 6 months after the shooting, police appear to be no closer to solving a baffling crime. It was a mile-long walk along a safe road covered with security cameras. For the main roads, that's true. But like I said, once you get up to that second block, I don't think there's cameras up there. But then it notes this: police have said that from the moment she left the bar, they had it on camera. So at some point, they've got footage of her. And we know from the first story that we covered here, they talked about seeing her dancing and singing as she was walking home. So they certainly do have footage of her. Where does the footage end along this route is a very important question. And thankfully, it's one that we're going to be able to answer as we go through this. But let's just close out to the details. They're showing some photos here. Here's the Midwood Country Club where she was that night before she left. They also show her workplace, the Midwood Smokehouse. A bullet to the chest ended her life after what police say was a struggle, which also left her bruised on her left cheek, left elbow, left hip, and left lower back. Now, this is one of the statements that I can't find information to support this. Interestingly, I know that they actually interviewed some of the police, but they're not being clear here about what source actually said this in terms of police. Is this a police spokesman that maybe isn't completely familiar with the case? Is this an investigator directly working on the case that made that comment? We have no idea. And I can tell you from the information that I've been looking through, I can't definitively tell you there was a struggle. Remember, the definition that we read says it basically could happen from an impact as well. I don't know if her just falling to the ground would be enough of an impact. I don't know if there possibly was another impact, maybe involving a vehicle, something along those lines. So this statement, I think, is a little strong, and I just can't find information to support it. But we do know there certainly was blunt force trauma to her left cheek, left elbow, left hip, and left lower back. It was clear immediately that it was not a robbery. She still had her cell phone and purse when her body was found. And after almost 6 months, police are no further forward despite an exhaustive investigation. They could find nothing in her personal life. She had been single for some time following a split from her boyfriend and lived for her cats. And I also want to add, obviously, she lived for her 2 dogs as well. Officers have spoken to her coworkers who were with her that evening, friends she had known for years, and members of her family, but no solid clues have emerged. They even investigated whether her murder could have been the result of a gang initiation in which a new member has to prove he or she has taken a life in order to be accepted, but that too has drawn a blank. The gang initiation thing is a pretty interesting theory, especially when you're considering a crime that happens this quick. We know from the story so far, there's gunshots. You have a neighbor looking out the window pretty much right away in a car speeding off. You have another person that actually comes to the scene, calls 911. They're there within minutes. So this is a very quick action that's going on. This gang initiation theory, I think there's something to that just in terms of being in the realm of consideration. And I don't know how you ever rule that out. Like, I mean, do you interview every gang member that's in the known area or something like that? I don't know how you actually close that lead out for a theory like that. And when we reach October in 2017, of course, we see a few articles talking about the 1-year anniversary. Here we have a photo of the site where it happened. You can see there's a bit of a memorial there as well. Family and friends are remembering a woman who was shot and killed in Plaza Midwood exactly 1 year ago Sunday. The murder case of Ketie Jones is yet to be solved, but Charlotte Mecklenburg police officials said the investigation is active. Jones's mother, Giovanna Livingston, has been working closely with CMPD to catch the person responsible for her daughter's death. She, as well as some of Jones's former coworkers, spent Sunday morning walking the same route Jones did that day 1 year ago. Unfortunately, no big updates, especially in terms of the investigation at this point, and no new information that's released or anything along those lines. One thing that does happen around all this over at SpectrumLocalNews.com, Ketie Memory Jones's friends are keeping her memory alive through an art scholarship. They set up a scholarship at UNC Charlotte and hope to raise $25,000 to get it endowed. And there are a couple of events that they do. They have essentially a memorial event / concert. I know they had one. It looked like they were actually lining up a second. I don't know if the second actually came to fruition or not. But they also set up a website where people could contribute. Of course, with the news coverage around this and the community being concerned about this, they were able to fund this. And here we can see at crowdfund.uncc.edu, they were looking for $25,000. They actually raised over $27,000. So essentially there is a scholarship in Ketie Jones's name. It's kind of touching as well because part of her backstory is that she went to school in a different state, tried to go there for a while, and essentially couldn't keep up with the cost of living and taking on school. So then she moved back to the Charleston area. So in some way, Ketie's memory is now helping other students that might be facing similar things and making it a bit easier for them. So I think that is a really beautiful way to honor her memory. So are there any developments? Where is the footage? Where does the footage end? Introduce, now called True Crime Daily or Crime Watch Daily. And they do some coverage on this case January of 2018. Police in Charlotte, North Carolina need the public's help to solve a senseless murder. Even though the Good Samaritan neighbor found Ketie Jones within minutes of the shooting and called 911, it was still too late. Jones was already dead. Ketie's mother had just spoken to her daughter 3 days before the fatal shooting. They had made plans to see each other in 2 weeks. It's really heartbreaking that life can just be stopped like that, especially someone so young and vibrant as Ketie was. Right away, cops canvassed the area and interviewed neighbors and friends of the beloved 26-year-old. Investigators appeared to hit a dead end. Then they discover surveillance video from a building directly across from where the shooting occurred. Yes, surveillance video. Does it capture the shooting? Not exactly. So this is the angle of the camera. The time that we're looking for on this, it's about a 30-minute video. Of course, I'll have a link to it in the description box down below. But based off the time code in the upper right-hand corner, Ketie actually enters just after 2:46. So we're going to roll it back just a little bit. And let me show you from the map where this is. So there is the Baptist church here. And the courtyard that you're seeing in the footage is this courtyard. So there's a camera, I believe it's mounted on this building. It's filming in this direction. And right over on the far right side, right over here, is the intersection that Ketie is making the left on, and then she's found right over here. So it's so dang close to actually capturing the shooting. It's almost frustrating to look at. But here we go. Let's go ahead and just run through this together, and I'll let you know what's happening. I also did some things because here we kind of have a distance where you can actually mark the distance. She just walked in. She's walking right here. It's kind of hard to see. There's so many trees in this area, but you'll see once she gets under this street light, you can see there's some traffic driving by. That looks like a taxi cab of some kind. She's continuing here. And here you can see her. This is the most clear shot of her right under the street light. More vehicles driving by. And I've watched the whole 30 minutes, and that's something that's pretty consistent. The flow of traffic on this road in particular, fairly consistent. On this side road, there's also some traffic that comes across. It's not nearly as busy as this main road, but there is some cross traffic that comes across there as well. So I did some measuring and time estimates. She's now over here, just because I wanted to see if it made sense with her walking pace for where she was and what we see happen. So keep that in mind, and everything totally fits. This is her walking, and it's really hard because you're literally just looking at a couple of gray pixels at this point. She made it to the corner, and now she's going to cut that left, and she's starting to go up the street. She's still in frame. I could still see a little bit of her legs, and by there, pretty much gone. So she's now heading further up. We know that she's going past the Realty building, but just keep your eyes in this upper right-hand corner, and within a few seconds, we're going to see, there we go, car lights. And what's interesting is it kind of looked to me like the car was actually in motion. I know the earlier narrative we saw talked about that the car lights flip on. I don't know if they flipped on or if they were just on the whole time and they just came into the shot. You know, they kind of cleared the tree line. There, the car pulls and either turns around or backs up. I can't tell, but it heads off, obviously not coming through the intersection. So you guys saw how fast that was. We're talking a matter of, I think it's less than 30 seconds that car is actually there. Let's get a time frame on it real quick. There, car shows up at 39 seconds. Also note there's a red car that drives by there. Authorities have been trying to find that car and they can't. And by 59 seconds, the car is pulling out. So this is literally a 20-second encounter that's going on here. So the first question that I had where I was wondering, did they get out of the car? 20 seconds, that is a really tight time frame. And the car is on the other side of the street. You've got 20 seconds. Throw the car in park, assuming it's a single driver. And there's no reason for us to assume there's only one person. There could be more than one person involved here. 20 seconds for this car to pull up, stop, an attack, shooting. I'm hearing between 3 and 4 shots. I can't get really clear information on that. Only one of them actually appears to strike her. So once again, that's leading me to believe the shooting might have actually happened within the car, that the person could be in there. If you were up close on someone like that, you're firing 3 or 4 shots, you're only making one of them. The probability just doesn't seem right for me. I have a feeling the car was here. The car backs up. Now, look at this street. It's not exactly a wide street. So are they going to back up until the next intersection? I don't think so. Are they going to back up in someone's driveway and try to turn around? Possibly. Now, there is another car that comes through this intersection, and police have been trying to identify it as well. There's some speculation that it might be the same car. I don't know if I really agree with that. Someone that is at least aware enough that they're not going to go to the main street where all the cameras are, that they back up the car, even if they're freaked out by the alarm that's going off. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that, a minute or two later, they're going to drive down the same street and then go exactly where they avoided going before. Here it is right here. Some type of what's being described as a silver sedan that drives through. The fact that the person sitting in this car does an attack like that, pulls off a shooting, doesn't just drive forward the way his car's facing, thinking about just what's the quickest and easiest way to get away, but instead makes a decision to back up and either turn around or back up all the way down the street, whatever happened. I can't really tell from the footage, but they made a clear decision in their mind. They were not going to continue forward. If that was because of the alarm that they just set off, maybe they thought there was cameras on that building that were now recording, or maybe they were aware of this main street down here having so many cameras. I don't know. But they seem to make some type of logical decision not to drive through that intersection. I really doubt they're coming down within a minute later and then driving through that intersection, especially when there's so many other routes that they can take, just going back up into the neighborhood. There's nothing to stop them. It's not like these are all running into cul-de-sacs or something like that. There are plenty of channels through this neighborhood. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that they would come back through that same street. If nothing else, I would think they would go a block or two down, and then if they had to get onto Plaza, because admittedly, you can see it's a little bit closed off, but there are so many options for them to go north and south. I just can't imagine they would say, I'm going to drive back by there, and then I'm just going to drive through that intersection when they made that previous decision not to. So thankfully, police actually release this video to Crime Watch Daily. Charlotte Mecklenburg police are asking for the public's help in solving the murder by releasing the footage for the very first time to Crime Watch Daily. And here's Crime Watch Daily's assessment. A mystery car pulls up next to the parking lot driveway where Ketie's body was later discovered. Police believe the shooter was in that vehicle, but Detective Eisenhower doesn't believe it was a drive-by shooting. Definitely not. There's clearly a stop that happens with the vehicle there. I'm still wondering if the shooting actually happens from within the car, though. And it's hard to know when we don't know for sure. According to what the witnesses said, in one article, they described it as pop, pop, pop. In another article, I read that there was 4 shots. We know that only one hit her. Once again, just the logic of putting all this together. If they're really standing that close to her, I can't imagine they're missing that many shots. Personally, I think somebody got out of the car and approached her for her to be this far over from the sidewalk where she originally was, said Eisenhower. So that makes it sound like she's much further into the parking lot than walking on the sidewalk. I think it was a complete surprise to her. Based on that video, it doesn't really appear that she would have had time to defend herself. Certainly not. We're talking about a 20-second exchange from that vehicle pulling up to it leaving. So once again, that brings me back to the motive. What's going on with this case? Someone drives up and they just shoot her right away. They're in and out of there. Were words exchanged? Was there some, hey, give me your purse? No, I'm not going to. Leave me alone. And then the gunshots. 20 seconds is just so tight. I think there could have been some type of exchange, but I don't know about getting out of the car, going over, then having this confrontation, then getting back in the car. 20 seconds seems like it's kind of narrow for a full interaction like that. But the detective is saying they clearly think that the person got out of the car and approached her. So if not a drive-by, could Ketie's shooting be the result of a robbery gone bad? In recent years, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Robbery Unit has seen a spike in robberies targeting late-night restaurants and their employees. Ketie's phone was found in her back pocket. Her purse lying next to her still had money in it, but police believe it still could have been an attempted robbery, and they have a theory as to why nothing was taken. The headlights of the suspected shooter's car appear right next to where Jones would have been walking. Then just 21 seconds later, the driver appears to slam the car in reverse and abruptly backs up. But why? The gunfire sets off the nearby business's alarm system. Could it be that the shooter got spooked and didn't have enough time to rob Jones? It's an interesting theory. For someone that's been so brazen to actually shoot someone, if you were really there for robbery, hearing an alarm go off in the area, is that going to freak you out enough to get out of there? Maybe. We do know that a neighbor is literally getting to the window in time to actually catch that car fleeing the area. So maybe. That's all I can say. There's no way to know for sure until hopefully this person is found. Then seconds after backing up, what appears to be the same car comes back into view and races from the scene out of camera range. I don't feel like that car is racing through the scene. I have no reason to believe that that's actually the same car. Cops haven't been able to confirm if it's the killer's car, according to this article as well. Police say the car appears to be a late model, light-colored Toyota or Lexus, silver, gold, or champagne in color. If you were in the area of the Plaza and Central Avenue during the early morning hours of October 15th, 2016, police want to hear from you. And of course, I have contact information in the description box below, not only for the police, but also for CrimeStoppers. If you need to stay anonymous, please use the CrimeStoppers information. There is a reward available. You will still be eligible for it, even if you remain anonymous. Quote, what if it was their family? What if it was their sister, their mom, their girlfriend walking home in the middle of the night? They would want someone to come forward to share that information, said Detective Eisenhower. I want the answers. I want justice for her. She doesn't deserve to go into death not being known what happened. Her story is not finished. It needs to be finished, said Ketie's mother, Giovanna Livingston. Now, we have one detective there saying that she thinks someone got out of the car. Here at WSOCTV.com, there is a note. Police believe the shot was fired from inside that vehicle and that Jones was caught off guard. So here we get a completely different point of view, but it says it's also coming from police. Once again, it's not really citing who that officer is with that idea. So I don't believe that it's Detective Eisenhower, even though she's quoted in other parts of this article as well. And keep in mind, this article is released at about the same time as the Crime Watch Daily coverage. Over at Fox 46 Charlotte, we get to the second anniversary, October 15th, 2018. Monday marks a somber day in the Plaza Midwood neighborhood. It was 2 years ago today the body of Ketie Jones was found. It's still kind of a nightmare. I mean, I still kind of think sometimes that she's just away, and when it hits home, it's almost too painful to bear, said her mother. There's nothing that's going to bring Ketie back to me. There's nothing anybody is going to be able to say or do that's going to bring her back to me. But I'm going to go crazy if I have to keep going over scenarios in my head that don't make sense or that I don't have answers to, Livingston said. The same difficulty in this case is the same difficulty that we have in every unsolved case, is that someone who knows something hasn't come forward. Most of our cases are solved by people who give information to us, a detective with CMPD said. So once again, I'm putting it out there. Please, if you have information on this case, use that contact information down below. Put this information in the hands of people that can act on it and help bring justice to this family. They very much deserve it. Coming up on 3 years, it's already too long. No family should have to wait like this. In the links down below, I will also have a Reddit thread talking about this case, but I wanted to share just a couple of other things about Ketie from KetieMemoryJones.com, the website that isn't that easy to get to. I'll also have the web archive links down below so you can see this stuff for yourself if you want to as well. So at that website, there was a memorial page where people have left many different comments about her, and I just want to share some of these comments with you guys. Of all the people I've met in my life, she was one of a kind. I met her during a tough time in my life, and she offered her words of wisdom, contagious smile, and even her home when I had nowhere to go. I can't even wrap my head around the cruelty of what happened to such a sweet soul. I hope you know you're missed and loved. And that was from her friend Nicole Rogers. I cannot thank you enough for modeling what it means to be an unapologetic, fiercely caring woman. That was from Michaela Amma. She had a way of taking my stress and turning it into love, never feeding off the negative energy, just contributing with positivity. She cared about everything and nothing at the same time. That's from Kara Jorgensen. You were a woman with a heart that was bigger than a world like this deserved. That was from Russell Lee Nasrallah. Ketie was in a theater class in high school that I taught. One day, she found a baby squirrel that had lost its mother. She rescued it, fed it, and kept it alive, bringing it to school in her pocket. Most kids were hiding cell phones. Ketie was hiding a squirrel. And that was from Catherine McDougall. I don't know who took your life. However, I know if they had been loved by a family like yours, they would not be the person they are. And that was from Marlene Jones. As creative as Ketie was, she also did some writing of her own. Apparently she kept small journals, and this is an excerpt from one of those journals. I'm a molecule in space that time's trying to erase, but I won't let it get to me mentally or physically. So much more goes on, how long I'm not sure, like first love and first breath you take. Oh, how your mother's heart did ache, the day you became too distant to be one again. You never let her hold you in her arms again. And this is where I turn it over to you, brain scratchers. Let's talk about this in the comments down below. What do you think is happening in this case? Is there more in that video than I was able to see, than Crime Watch Daily has been able to see? You know, one of the things that occurred to me as well is if she was being followed by someone, if someone was tracking her movements, maybe someone that saw her at the bar, or maybe if it was someone from a previous encounter from weeks before or something along those lines, is there a chance that the vehicle could be in that footage earlier, that maybe they would be driving around that route waiting for her to come through? But then when the car does show up, it's facing opposite of how she's walking. I don't know. I'm really stuck on, is this a crime of opportunity? Is this a botched robbery? Or is there something more at play here? And I really wish that we had some more details to share with you guys so we had better questions to ask. But what I can ask you is if you have friends in this area, in Charlotte, North Carolina, I know I've got a few friends in North Carolina I'm going to reach out to. Please share this video with them. Let's raise exposure to this case. Let's not let Ketie's story go unheard. Let's not let it disappear from the internet. Let's keep the fire lit on this, and hopefully this family can have the justice they've been seeking for so long. I want to give a very big thank you to Karen, a brain scratcher who sent a bunch of information, got me kickstarted on researching this case. She was passionate about it, and she pulled me right into that. Thank you so much, Karen. Before we end today's video, big thank you to PayPal supporters Randy Volkel, Emma Rostron, Jennifer Wilson, and Kyle Rafferty. If you want to support the channel through PayPal or Patreon or buying merch, you could do all of that at www.lordandarts.com. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday with a brand new case cracked on the Lord and Arts channel.